We're gonna, by any means necessary.
I've lost my battery, so
Yeah, well, we'll get started.
stream is out for a second.
We'll work on it. I think my
Now
phone
I
might
can
be
say the
working
really
okay.
controversial.
No, I'm
Now
live.
you can talk
No, you
shit.
can't. Oh, wait, Patty's gone online, right?
I'm live, yeah.
Oh, hey, Patty's live, so
I wouldn't
So
worry
there's no
too
interruption
much.
at all.
no
I
interruption,
wouldn't worry about it.
except for the people
I was
watching
literally
on
just
Except Global Rev's down.
I'm not really.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not really worried
Can you,
about saying anything.
Vlad, can you put
It's good for,
Patty up on the
so when I do
Global
my
Rev?
show, maybe I can do it in front of the big screen. I can
Mhm.
just use that for the
That's what it's
backdrop.
all about. We're trying to generate a conversation.
I was thinking of doing it
And we
so
wanna
the
get people
little
interested.
spare bedroom where Vlad was
That's the best way to do it.
crashing. Like I was thinking of just putting a backdrop in there. and
How
just using
luxurious
that
to have a
as
spare
studio.
bedroom.
Well, that's,
Well, when I was
It's 3 feet wide.
well, we have a friend who's staying in the actual spare bedroom, who hopefully is finding his own place soon. And then my studio will be in there. But that room in there, like back during all of Occupy.
Your studio?
No, this is one bedroom, so this is actually the living room.
Oh, okay.
But so the bedroom in there.
I thought you meant like
bedroom
an
in there,
art
I have a
studio
friend
or
staying there.
something,
No,
or...
the TV studio for the
I was
show
getting
that I'm
all
doing.
excited about your art studio. I wanted to check it
Oh
out.
no, my husband's the artist. There's a lot of his stuff around here.
Oh, nice.
And because
Huh?
that's what they've been
Yeah.
inculcated in, you
Where's
know,
the stuff?
it's the only way they think
A
they
lot
can
of
get
it's
what
in
they
the
want.
cases,
By
but-
destroying someone,
Anything
someone.
up? Anything hanging?
And if
Oh
you
no, he
just,
doesn't
you know,
paint. He
re-educate
does.
people
He
a little
does
bit, show people,
like
look,
mixed
you can-
media
you can
stuff.
do this in a
Okay.
way that
Can you do a
doesn't
display?
harm. And still accomplish what you
In
want.
fact, you
like,
can do
you
it in a
know?
way that
No, not right now.
benefits the
Win-win-win.
win-win.
Win-win-win. It's absolutely because you know we have a
I'm an
positive
artist,
input
too.
energy from the sun at all times.
He
You know,
does.
here's
He
the thing,
paints
you know,
doll
Yeah,
heads.
free energy. I mean,
Yeah.
He puts
oh,
doll
you
heads
can't have
on
anything
different
for nothing.
things and-
You
Mhm.
have the freaking sun. If you can't figure
And
out
my beautiful
how
porcelain
much
ceramics.
energy that is just by itself,
It's the best energy
you know,
source there is.
and that's not ever going to go out in your lifetime or the lifetime that you can foresee. Let's not worry about.
Let's not worry about 20 billion years
Yeah,
from
let's
now.
not
What's
worry
your gas
about.
mask?
Let's not worry
No,
about
I've got
about the sun going out anytime soon.
Right.
And there are other
You're not gonna
suns.
be
You know, there's
a real
infinitely many of
NATO
them,
one.
for that matter. And actually, the whole universe is a connected network. You know, and it's all consciousness. It's all
Israeli
being.
noodle.
There's nothing. that's
NATO
really,
certified Israeli
um,
gas mask somewhere.
Oh.
It's hanging up there somewhere.
only living here on Earth and not living elsewhere.
Those ones are
You know,
more
that's
like
a- that's a- that's a-
respirators for
that's a
construction,
really sort
but
of
they work a
solipsistic
little
view
bit.
of the universe.
Better
You
than-
think that you know you're the only
Better than a
conscious
bandana?
being in the universe, and nobody
Not
else
as
in
good
the
as
universe is
the
conscious.
whole.
One time I
Uh,
tweeted bananas soaked with vinegar,
Bananas soaked in
and
vinegar.
that like
Yeah.
that
This thing
went
says it's gonna
viral.
run out of
My
space
bananas
in
soaked
about
in.
45 seconds.
Oh yeah, we'll just it'll shut off and then turn it back on again.
Just turn it off and
No,
on.
no, not the camera, but just shut the thing down and just restart
And
it.
then I can do a new stream.
Yeah, it's every 25 minutes.
Hey now,
There's like
viewer
a 20
number
gigs on
one.
there, so, right?
Okay, it's
I always
But
called
the-
viewer number one a
the thing
cop.
about this consciousness
The what?
that
I would
that
always
we
like
have
in the past. I used
is
to
that
have
we are that
one viewer at all
consciousness,
times,
and
so
we
I
are
just
all that same
decided that was
consciousness in
LAPD.
different perspectives. You know, so that which is my
LAPD, we're in
consciousness
San
is
Francisco.
Just another perspective of that which is your consciousness, and also that of another creature that's not human, like an animal or even a plant,
Dolphin.
or you know anything.
Oh, he was mixing
They
patty.
all have a type of
That's
you
your
know,
stream from a
beingness to
minute or two
themselves.
ago.
And it may not be the
So what's
same,
with the black
perspective
side?
that you have because
It's
they're
been like
coming
that the whole
from
time.
a very, very different manifestation. But you know, not every single blade of grass has, you know, a consciousness of being that.
Hey now, we're live in San Francisco at Punk Boy's house with Punk Boy and Vlad and Clark and Ian and Human and Mike.
You got us backwards, buddy.
Ah!
that was good,
But
though.
that was good though. I'm
Yeah.
proud of myself. I remembered those names. That's the first step, right?
That's right.
Towards something.
I got the beard guys right.
How was the megabus?
The megabus, besides like being three
Did they-
times
did
as
they
much
write
as I
back
thought
to
it
you
was
at
going to
all?
be, and then losing my suitcase, it was really nice.
Oh, you
did
said
you
you just
forget
forgot
your
to pick it
suitcase
up.
and just left the back? The
Well,
parcel?
then now it's gone though. They've
Well, yeah,
said
they're
that
not responsible for anything once they get
Yeah.
you to your point. With Greyhound, they don't care either.
yeah. But the megabus has electricity and free Wi-Fi.
Theoretically.
No, the Wi-Fi. Well,
Megabus, they didn't have any.
sometimes it works. They don't have electricity.
No,
They did.
Not always.
Well,
they don't guarantee it.
I charged my iSound in there.
Okay, good. Well, yeah. Well, now you're live streaming for us.
Well,
And I got the best
thing
seat
with the,
in the
with the
bus.
Wi-Fi on the bus is it's a 4G hotspot that they just diffuse over the bus. So if you get no 4G where they're going, then it's going to drop.
Right.
It's like they don't have satellite or anything.
But every now and then I was able
There you go,
to
guys.
get on there and
Now we're in a corner.
Yeah. Why don't you give us the full screen?
You are getting almost supposed to be right over the text.
Yeah, he's
If
got
you point that at the TV, you
he's
get
got
like
some-
the like tunnel of.
We do accept that there's a lag.
Yeah, we're in
so, like,
television, you
yeah.
know, here, so
Let's
we're
see.
looking at, we're gawking at ourselves.
You look so
There's
pretty on
amazing
TV.
psychedelic effects with that.
I've done that.
I've sat around for hours
Just
just.
sitting the camera.
But you just if you get it exactly centered, and then you're basically transforming the scale and rotation by some amount at each iteration, 30 frames a second.
Rotate and you.
So
can-
if you just change this by a little bit, then you really get that infinite stream away effect,
Right.
and you can also like
It's a
preserve.
little delay each one, so it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you can if you really control it, you can actually just start with a little impulse of light, and you can keep it there, because it's you're recapturing whatever light went in
You know,
and holding it.
This is actually a really profound thing, that it's not limited to just a visual effect. That if you actually understand what you're doing by focusing a thing upon itself in that way, that is also kind of how an energy circuit works. Is you're just, again, you're taking a particular thing and sort of sharpening it, you know, into a point. And that point then is very powerful, because it contains the entire power of that entire thing condensed into a single point. And that can be an arbitrary power if you have arbitrary focus. You see what I'm saying? And if you combine multiple streams in that way, you can have an arbitrary amount of, you know, amplification of that.
Is there a way to get this thing to stop?
So it literally is unlimited power.
Batteries
It
disconnected.
literally is unlimited.
I'm ready for unlimited power.
But-
Show us the way, Mike.
Well,
I got
here's
more
the thing about
batteries.
it. The philosophy that I'm trying to explain in regards to this
Is it charging?
understanding, this hypostatic unity,
It should-
understanding of our
It's
oneness.
barely holding a charge
is
in here.
more
This one, if I
important than
unplug it, I think
technology.
it's gonna die. This one is
If you don't have that understanding,
I
Oh, the camera is there.
technology can only be
the
harmful.
camera's working, but it
Because
keeps beeping every
if
few
you
seconds
think
to say
that
the
the
battery
might
You're
be
going to
full.
take infinite power for yourself,
Well, when you see a battery,
and other people should not have the same infinite power.
I have another
Then
battery.
you become
No,
a
this
danger
thing-
to
no, it's fine. What
those
it's saying is this
people's
thing, the battery is disconnected.
you know,
So
sort of,
every few seconds it goes beep, beep.
manifestation.
Disconnected.
Makes sense.
Because it becomes a weapon.
No, it's not a matter of this one.
Because
It's a matter of this
you
one.
can project that power.
You know what?
But if you
let's do this.
understand
Let's
that
do
we
one
are
and one. That way, instead of doing
one
it-
being in
instead
different
of doing
manifestations,
both,
and that
no, single one.
perspective is understood,
Yeah, you
then
know
we
when you
can
pull that
easily
in,
share
the camera
that.
totally drains the
And we
battery out,
understand
fucks
that,
up.
you know,
So-
we're not here to harm each other, we're here to mutually amplify each other's, you know, manifestations.
Hey now, we are live here in San Francisco, California. We're here at Punk Boy's house. We're here with Freeman Solomon, and I just said this a second ago, didn't I?
Hey.
But there's
Yeah,
more people.
This is flashback.
And there's
Blast
Vlad,
in the
and
past. We're having a delay.
we're in that loop again.
Both, you know, technologically
We're having a groundhog
speaking, and
moment.
also in our minds. I mean, we do kind of just, you know, repeat ourselves sometimes, and maybe that's for the best. I think as long as we're aware of it. And you know, we've kind of been in semi-focus mode. Sometimes we've been in, you know, meta problem-solving mode, looking at how
But
we
I guess maybe
communicate our problems.
there's just a lot more
Sometimes
people
we've been
watching right
devolving
now.
into rambling about our own little takes on what are the biggest problems and some suggested solutions. I am curious, of course, about where we're going from here.
Well, at some point
I'm
I'll
sad
demonstrate
because I
this
love
circuit.
potato chips, but I know that
Or until we're gonna get to
It's
are made with
stuff.
genetically modified
Yeah,
canola oils.
That's
There's
my
some
favorite
kettle
GMO
cooked
food,
salt and pepper
though.
ones in there.
Oh, kettle chips? Kettle chips are righteous.
Oh, they're kettle lays or something.
Oh, okay.
But
They're
kettle
they're
cooked.
probably kettle
Yeah, you think
GMO.
it. You know, you look at the ingredient list on the potato chips, and it's just what? Potatoes, vegetable oil, and salt.
But compared to most potato chips, this is more healthy because there's no MSG in here.
Well, yes, but it's still, you've got the vegetable oil is a combination of sunflower, corn,
Oh, okay.
and canola oil.
It's really terrible.
Horrible.
It's a horrible food.
Like they're raping the like where the orangutans live. They're
Yeah, for
losing
the
all their
canola.
habitat for the I think it's the palm kernel.
Oh, that's
out
palm.
there.
Yeah, it's a different one. Yeah, palm is like the
what
number one
operates
cause
now.
of deforestation
I
right
don't,
now in the.
Oh, is that why
I
vegans don't eat palm
Southeast
oil?
Asia.
Right.
Right, but,
Okay, that makes sense
it's
now.
sort of
Hmm.
direction.
Well,
So, you know what I'm saying.
but this is part of the problem.
Yeah, so,
We're hungry. We have to eat. The body has to consume
to
food.
be honest, when I'm not working,
The
or
choices
sleeping,
we're
I'm
given are
eating.
all
It's a-
so terrible. You know, where are you going to go with that?
I like the comfort of food. It feels good in my belly, right? And you know, and
Hi, Rise.
you know, believe it or not, guys, I've dropped 150 pounds, right?
Yay!
So
How did you do it?
Right. Basically, I fast one day a week, right? Where I don't eat anything at all but drink water and, you know, coffee and whatnot. But I don't eat anything. I generally when I'm at home and I'm cooking for myself, I don't really cook, but I'm really into slicing up veggies and eating everything raw.
User/PM Beers.
And then when I go out, well, that's when I can like
/PM Beers.
you know, be guilty and do what I like.
Is that right?
Right. And then, you know, I can get more comfort. But at home, strictly fruits and
Ustream.tv
veggies.
/channel. Yeah.
And trust me, for those of you people that are meatheads, you don't need to be eating meat all the time. It's not healthy for you. It contains a lot of antibiotics, first of all, and then there's a lot of fat with it, and basically you're headed for a heart attack. So if you like living a long life, I would recommend staying away from eating too much meat.
Chinese restaurant here on the corner has the best like fake chicken.
Yeah, there's.
I eat meat, but I still like
there's
their
still
fake
turkey
chicken
and
stuff.
all that kind of crap.
But a lot of that
veggies,
stuff has wheat in it.
Yeah, stick with the fruits and veggies.
And wheat is really, really bad.
Raw fruits and veggies, you know, like avocados, peppers, tomatoes. I mean, there's, you know, just go out there and, you know, you can fill yourself up on those things, right?
Hi, Fuzi, I can't afford meat either.
You know, well, veggies and fruits.
But if somebody is going to give me some free meat, I'm going to eat it.
Right, veggies and fruits, if you actually make a trip to the supermarket, are actually much cheaper to buy, right? And you'll be much more satisfied. Beans are really, 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 really good way of getting enough protein. And we live under this myth, you know, like, you know, folks, we got all these big, super huge food companies. They're always advertising to us 24/7 a day, telling us how much we need to buy their products. You know, and after you've been like brainwashed enough times and you've heard this message repeatedly, because that's what they're counting on.
I love beans too.
Is, you know, there is wearing down your resistance, right? That's why they play the same fucking commercial 50 times in an hour, right? Because they're trying to make you, drive you, and convince you to do something that you don't want to do, right? And that's the way it works. That's how that mind control works. It's over and over again. And if you have somebody tell you that you're a fucked up person, right, over and over and over and over and over again, well, naturally you're going to start believing it, right? Because you have this message that's reinforcing this in your mind all the time, reminding you that you're a fucked up person, right? I'm not here to tell you that you're a fucked up person, right? I'm here because of love. Okay, now other guy here, this is a big difference here between what we're trying to do and what MSM is trying to do, right? Because basically MSM is out there, you know, and I watched the news fucking this morning, right? And it's the mayhem report, right? Like, you know, our local news here in the Bay Area is KTBU, and, you know, I got to say that they are very good news professional, right? But MSM is driven by if it doesn't bleed, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. So
we lost some streamers on my channel.
You know, that's what happens when you drop out.
Yeah, I had to drop out. I'm sorry, the stream was down. Yes, I'm back. Thanks, Fuzz.
You know, it's like, you
have
know,
a
they're driven
1%
by
battery,
events.
so it's like I have to hold the cord.
Hi,
If I
UK.
let the cord and it's out. So we got UK on 2 different channels. So we have 2 live streams going, which is really great, which is sort of what we're trying to do. And again, behind us, we've got the live streams there on the TV.
You lose weight guaranteed.
You could feel free to go ahead and mix us in. We can have a dual stream going.
Okay, Rise is saying replace as many meals with that, and you lose weight guaranteed. Wait, replace meals with what?
Now Fuzzy is
Replace as many meals with that, and you lose weight guaranteed. More healthy too.
Half guilty.
You know what? I've been hardly eating at all, and I didn't lose weight. I think I gained weight. I think it fucks your metabolism when you don't eat.
It certainly does, yeah. Like, because what happens is, like, you have to eat more food to make up for it.
This is what happens all the time.
Because I think when you like eat less for a long time, which I did, your metabolism adjusts.
For sure. And
So I think I've actually gained weight from not eating. Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, so UK's muted one of the audios, which is probably a good idea, yeah.
That's what I recommend. Like, I recommend whoever's voice you like better,
Yeah, and you know, well, it doesn't matter.
whoever's commentary you like
I
better,
mean,
like, put that audio on.
either way, they're going to
And
give us both. I mean,
I think you should. I think you should. I always recommend people watch multiple live streams at the same time.
yeah, and then, you know, it's funny because the other thing is we've had trouble, and, you know, even we were talking about this. How do you get with multiple video feeds? We now have 2 live streams going, but how do you get
So this is what I'm going to
single
show.
audio? We wanted to
I
go,
want
you know,
I want to figure out how to put this on that screen, but I can't because I don't have an HDMI cable.
okay.
But it's okay. I'm going to show you. You can show the
Do you
screen.
want to do it on mine? I think I can get this one.
Alright, then I'm going to move
Yeah.
to the other side of the room, guys.
Yours will be better because you already installed the software.
Escucha.
Just attach it and plug in launch StreamYard. I think the machine is missing.
But I can't be having you talk about the Pope lecture.
Hi, Perso girl.
And he says, I'm sorry, boys.
Oh, it is HDMI.
Drink lots of water, but the water has fluoride.
You gonna charge?
Yeah, it's
But it
just
works
like
if you have an HDMI input.
Mean green juice. What is mean green juice?
falls out.
You want to run TeamViewer. We
I
downloaded
need
the other
to,
day.
I need to.
It's made to
pick
fail.
it.
You guys are talking a lot. I'm
That's-
having a hard
that's
time
one of
catching up.
Your power generating devices.
So, TeamViewer.
How much? How
Oh,
much?
I didn't
How much
install
juice?
it.
Cheese burritos. Oh god, I love burritos, but I can't eat the tortillas.
It's in your
Because
download.
of the GMO corn flour.
I wouldn't charge a lithium
downloads.
battery,
Right.
but you could charge another battery.
Like regular AA's or whatever.
Yeah, you could charge another battery and use those to charge your cell phone.
Tell you, since we're here, let's.
What delicious toxins? Mean green juice or the water? You guys have to tell me what this mean green juice is.
But the problem could be these
You
two.
can pass it around too. We can talk about it.
Hi.
This is pretty
Hi,
amazing.
Prusso.
It's just a bipolar
Is that
speaker
Crystal
cable.
from,
Prusso girl.
Plenty of
oh,
this.
Prusso,
Yeah,
seen
and
it.
you can get those, it's just like at the dollar store, for the cable. I think it was actually $2 for the cable, but whatever.
Isn't this wonderful? Some of your favorite people all together in the same room.
Well,
You can
this
sit on the
is-
Figuring
ground.
out where to go next, how to do things next.
I used the cable.
Alright, so what we're going to do,
But yeah, you can.
I'm so happy to be here.
Infinitely charge whatever you want.
All right, let's-
Depending on how
Let's
you want
let's
it.
let's
And depending
let's
on
do
how
this
many
teaching,
coils
Vlad.
and how many batteries.
Teach the people what to do.
trying to charge.
I'm gonna share some
I have
ideas,
different designs.
All right, let's do it.
and the people, it's up to the people to implement them in their communities actually.
So look, now we've got the
All right.
teaching computer up there. We couldn't do it the half
Oh yeah. Now we can start teaching people.
Oh, sweet.
It's gonna be a really late workshop, guys. I hope you have no plans for Sunday
We
morning.
need to watch.
But I don't think we can see it on the live stream though.
We can set that up, but I want people to see what's going on.
Oh, but you can put it on Global Rev like that?
And an LED requires 3
If you
volts,
stream the screen,
and
it will
we're
be on
gonna use
Global
a
Rev.
1.5 volt battery to
I don't know if they can see it from my stream.
They can.
They can?
Yeah, we can preview it. We'll put it up.
I should be able to
All right,
show
this is
right
the
All right,
mixing.
you
This
show
is the
me
mixing
how.
right now. This is you see it on the screen. Well, it's the same screen. You have to.
Oh no, my voice, that's freaky.
But we can.
Nobody likes hearing themselves.
I know, it's freaky. I don't like to.
We all, because you hear it in your head differently than what people actually.
I know I sound funny.
All right, I don't have the sound, so we don't have to worry.
I don't know. Other people say they like my voice, but I don't. It's freaky to
So
me.
anyway, so you can see what's going on
But I'm
here.
not listening. I'm not inside your head right now. So.
So now, you were talking about. Are you streaming as well?
Mean green juice is 8 stalks of
Okay.
celery,
So it's only-
4 green
it's only
apples, 1 cucumber, and some ginger, 2 something, 1 bunch of kale.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I was asking them what was mean green juice, and now they're telling me.
People on my stream were sending.
Put some
No, the colors are wrong.
marijuana leaf in your juice.
We could put them on.
Oh, because the team viewers. Oh, I see.
The TeamViewer is compressing it, super compressing it for you.
Yeah,
So basically, okay. So I'm gonna explain. So what we're doing right now actually is we're mixing
You're such a amazing
Global Rev by taking your stream, patting your stream, but we're doing it not from here, but we're doing it from another computer that's somewhere else that's actually sitting on good internet connection.
Do it from your phone.
And so the whole idea that we're basically
Somewhere else in Punk Boy's house.
no, somewhere else on
Love
the
you all.
on the world,
You know.
because we're taking
a lot of
over it.
work.
We're taking control of it over the internet and using it to mix.
Nice.
So it's what we have on the screen right now. If you show the screen, it basically has.
Johnny Jihad. Sorry,
It's all good.
I'm reading the chat.
That's good. No, you have to do both.
I love you,
If I want to
Johnny.
get a lot of people, I can just tell them I'm going to be giving out free.
Rice says my voice is
I
great.
know how to get.
Okay, great.
You're like, I don't care.
Because I like everybody here. You know, and
I gotta figure out how to
something that
broadcast
I
this
want.
screen.
Oh, Fuzzy likes my
You know what I
voice
want?
too.
What's the most important thing? The ability to learn.
Sorry, I'm just really being ADHD right now. Hi,
It's
UK.
Okay. So the whole idea is that
UK to go in
in
the
order-
meeting eco stream and tell them to move over because my camera is gonna. I'm not gonna be able to live stream for another 10 minutes. I've got no battery.
You don't
Tell
have
them
any
to
other
go
extra
from
batteries?
my stream over to yours.
UK? UK's already in
You
here.
watch Global
Yeah.
Rev.
Yeah, just go over to Global Rev. You'll
Yeah,
get
Global Revolution.
we can pull up. Actually, we can pull up the chat for Global Rev right now, so people can see this. Oh,
He's doing this. That's actually a computer.
Spider Gremlin is Johnny G. Oh, sorry, I don't mean. Oh, you said it's
Oh my
Johnny
God,
G.
there's so
I'm
many
sorry.
tabs open.
Available.
I miss you, Johnny Jihad. We cuddled at the Bradley Manning action.
Galaxy, I think I'm gonna get another camera.
What the?
He's a good cuddler.
We'll have equipment for people to.
Is your mic dead?
No, it's way
Or
worse
if you
than
have
that.
like something that you're doing and you want to,
See it.
you need equipment to make it.
Oh, you lost the 9-volt? Because I've got a Rode
No,
mic
I've
here.
got
for
the
you.
9-volt, but
That's another reason.
Yeah, you guys, we're at Punk Boy's house in San
It's
Francisco.
available to you.
there's a
And
limit to the
Vlad
9-volt.
is here,
You
and
know,
Freeman
it's
Solomon
pretty
is
simple.
here, and all these other beautiful people, and this dog and a cat.
Huge. And this week I'm going to buy a German server. And
I mean, it's just like the thing must have just.
Hi, Liberty.
Rubber mount.
for a 32 gig.
All right, we have consensus. They love my voice.
2 terabyte
Awesome.
hard drive. It's on a fiber optic line, right? Guaranteed.
So weird.
No. So we'll have plenty of bandwidth.
Like literally just popped
And
out.
we'll be able to live stream directly. off of
Johnny, are you at the San Francisco commune right now?
to make all this work, right? And
This is the Global Revolution chat.
Oh, Percy wants to see the doggy.
what happened was I merged my accounts with this company, and
I forgot
the
his
fucking-
name.
when, you know, the IP number, it didn't change, but the account changed, and they reinstalled the.
All right, what are we doing, Vlad?
I'm just setting it up for people to see what's
Okay.
going on.
I just got a perfect fit. I had every line of code. I did just one error
Freeman,
in the whole thing.
Clark, Prusto says hi.
Oh, who's that?
Prusto girl.
Oh, hey, what's up? Glad to see that you're watching. We're watching you. Anyway, I was just talking to Mike here about we're getting ready to purchase some German server space this week, and so people that are out there that have an activist group, you know, I'll be happy to host anything that you want to put up there, videos, just about anything, as long as it's not. I think I have 2 rules, you know. Well, I'm not really that interested, but no porno, and the other one is no hate material. So that's pretty broad, I think. And actually, the porno thing, I'm kind of light on.
What if it's like radical porn?
Yeah, well, radical porn is fine. I was actually.
I don't know what that
I
would
had this
look like.
idea today, and then, you know, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but you know, there's awful. It's just been discovered that men that are uncircumcised are. I know, I kind of think this may be a myth, but you know, there's actual doctor visits. But you know, basically, I think the doctors are in it to, you know, because they really want to cut the tip of your dick off. I think they're really into that, you know. And I know it sounds really sick and perverted, but
And
you know,
sadistic.
that's a significant portion of a doctor's income, especially pediatricians, right? Because they get to charge a couple $1,000s for this needless operation, when all you have to do is teach little boys how to keep their penises clean, right? And so, you know, I'm thinking about doing a live
But
stream.
maybe there's a stigma against that.
Well, I don't give a fuck if there's a stigma.
I think that's
Little
what it
boys need
is.
to learn how to clean their penises, right? And
Stigma
the
against
fact
nobody.
is that you're not getting the proper training, because a lot of kids are coming up today and they don't have pop to take them into the bathroom and to show them how to do it. You see, I was lucky, and my father showed me, right? But a lot of parents, a lot of little boys are walking around in society today that don't have fathers, right? And you know, there needs to be some kind of reference material on that, so kids can be taught sexual education, right? Because that's going to be basically, if we're going to, you know, if we're going to fight like the evil in our society and the things that are fucked up about our society, the primary weapon that we have to use is education, right? And the one way that, you know, we can do things like you know, is that there's not going to be any miracle cure that's going to be dropping out of the sky anytime soon, right? So basically, most of what goes on in the world, if you want to educate, if you want to change society, basically the way to do it is to educate women, right? And educate people, but primarily women, okay? And
Good
when you
night,
educate
UK.
women, well, then they, you know, it's like little girls, right? Like need to be, you know, they don't need to be taught. But what I'm trying to say is, if you provide educational opportunities for young women, well, then a whole society will be transformed, right? And there's really, you know, the males in society are going to just have to learn to deal with it, okay? And that's what's going on, because, you know, little boys get way coddled too much in schools, you know, and that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, that's true. Little boys know how to get attention, right? And you know, you see, I know how to look around the camera, right? And a lot of women, right? And I hate to say this, but a lot of, you know, it's my big criticism of the female species, of our species, you know, because you know, I love women, I love all women. But the thing about it is that women are not as adept as getting attention, even well, you know, in
Good night,
different
Johnny.
ways, right? But you know, trust me, men do know how to get your attention, right? And you know, I don't know, maybe I should be talking about this, but personally, I enjoy a company of women that know how to get attention, right? And that are not shy, that know how to express their opinions. And you know, just because you know, like I know that, like, no matter what anybody says about the relationships between men and women, it is about sex, right? Like, no matter how much women want to deny that, no matter how much men want to deny that, right? That even all the people that you're attracted with, even the people in your sex, right? We all have this physical attraction towards each other, right? And this is a very necessary thing, right? It helps our species to survive and whatnot, right? And you know, you'll want to be around people that you know, we all have this like physical attraction to each other, right? And it doesn't, we're not like, oh, I'm so in love with you about it, right? But it's a very subconscious thing, right?
DJ VJ Girl said WTF.
All right, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, Well, I don't. Maybe she's not getting a conversation here. It's just like, we're talking about live streamers and women that are doing live streaming and participating in political events, as opposed to men.
Wait. DJ VJ Girl says, did he just say women don't know how to get attention?
Well, but not in a political group. I have not been involved in a lot of political groups, right? This is one of the. Okay, well, let me get specific about it. Okay. We have a lot of strong women here in our Occupy San Francisco, right? But we have to support women in their efforts more so than we do with guys. Like girls definitely need more support when they're going to school, right? They need to be encouraged to study the sciences, mathematics, right, and things like that, and encouraged to become professionals, right? This is not a sexist thing that I'm trying to express. What I'm trying to express is that women deserve more educational opportunities, right? And that's really important. That's a good way to transform society. And matter of fact, that is the most effective way to transform society, is to educate women about sex, right? Because there's a lot of women that walk around on this planet that have no conception of what birth control is all about.
Boozy says,
Right? Yeah, well, that's a controversial topic, but like in places like the emerging countries, right, that, see, that's why one of the reasons why the Catholic Church is so dead set against abortion. Everybody's trying to control women's bodies. Everybody's trying to control women's reproductive systems. Okay, bottom line, right? The people that are upstairs that want to tell you what to do and how to live your life, what's the best way to control a woman? Is to control the reproductive process, right?
And prevent men from...
Right, and have men control the reproductive process, right? There's a big, major biological difference between men and women, is that we have literally billions of fucking sex cells that come out of our body. Right, whereas women only get one egg every 28 days, and that only happens for about 25 years, right? So this is a biological imperative that drives us as a species, right? And this is actually a very successful way of propagating our species, right? And admittedly, people have to get real about sex, Everybody, like on live streams, are so attracted to cop porn, right?
I like riot porn.
Yeah, they so want to see people getting the shit beat out of each other, right? And what they really need to be concentrating on, why is everybody so scared of talking about sex? Why don't people want to examine it? Is this like some kind of taboo, right? You can't tell me that people aren't looking at fucking porn on the internet, right? Because that's pretty much the only thing that's making money, okay? And so let's get real about ourselves for a second here, and let's drop the whole fucking facade of being, of like not wanting to talk about sex because it's dirty.
So,
right?
DJ VJ Girl said, yeah, just asking for some clarification.
Right, okay, I know. And I might come off, you might think that
she said that it was a little confusing the way you said it at the first.
Now my phone works, right?
She said he's okay. That's what she said.
That's Malcolm X, by the way. And the call.
So I want to ask you about the gift economy and what is the first step? What's the first step towards making that happen?
Well, so basically, there needs to be some sort of underlying substance to an economy, or an ecology, as I prefer to call it. We used to use gold or metal or something like that against this debt money, and it's that's stupid. You're mining the ground, destroying the earth to get metal and put it in another hole in the ground, and that way you can charge other people interest to tame it, whatever. I mean, it's silly. But an agricultural base, I think, is something.
Can you hold this for a minute? Sorry,
that's okay. I think an agricultural base of some kind is a good way
the off button is here, so don't touch it there.
Thinking about a solid value underlying a gratitude ecology, because what you're basically talking about is taking energy from the sun, from the universe, transforming it, through the soil and through the seed that you plant and cultivate into things that people can use. And that can be, for food, that can be for medicine, that can be for industry, that can be for, as we were talking before about replacing petroplastics with hemp plastics or whatever. There's many other types of plants that can be grown. And you can do this very efficiently. You can do this, just using the sun, or you can do this in a more sort of concentrated way with electricity, we know. But the way that we generate electricity today is also very destructive. That we mine for oil or coal, or we use these terribly polluting technologies like nuclear energy that are all based on explosion. Basically, creating the nuclear generators are really nothing more than water boilers. I mean, they're very primitive. They just generate a whole lot of heat to boil water, and then the boiling water is basically a steam engine. And they just do it with a lot of heat at one place. And when something is going well, I guess things seem like it's fine. But as soon as there's a disaster like has happened at Fukushima, I think you see the real costs of that kind of technology, that we really can't continue on that path, and that's not the solution. And the truth of it is that nothing that I've been talking about or doing here is anything new. It's really just taking things that Nikola Tesla, for instance, had been doing more than 100 years ago, and trying to make them, practical and understandable for self. And that's only a limited way that I understand it. Other people will have better understanding than I do, and can explain better than I do, and can give you other demonstrations. But what I have here is just a very simple pancake bipolar coil, which is something Nikola Tesla invented. And I actually, it's actually not a standard one, because it's a stereo hookup, stereo speaker cable, that has the copper and aluminum in the case. And so I got this at like the dollar store. I think it was actually $2, but whatever, something like that. And with something as simple as that, you can wind a coil. And basically, just every time you kind of come around, you twist it once, so that you're always having, in this case, aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, at each layer. So you've got two windings, which are right next to each other. And then what you do is you connect the inner copper winding to the outer aluminum winding, or vice versa. And you create a winding going in both directions. Okay? Because from here, you've got a winding going from the inside out, and from here, you've got a winding from the outside in. And so the two electrical currents are moving in opposite directions. And that allows for the cancellation of the self-inductance. And with a typical transformer, the inductance saturates the coil, and you have heat which is produced, and therefore a lot of inefficiency. With a coil that is self-cancelled like this, you have a very fast transfer of energy without loss. And you don't need to use any sort of core. Usually when people build what's called a joule thief, and I'm going to demonstrate that as to how to use this coil. Usually people, have been obtaining these toroid cores and winding around those. But a toroid core is not something you probably have laying around. It's something you got to probably go acquire, and it might cost you $5 or something, even if it's an air core. And people use all these other kinds of cores. This is just a simple coil, just a wire with no core, except for the air, and there's nothing. It's just glue it each time you come around, and maybe glue a little bit, along the sides as you go, and you've got a coil.
Yay!
So, the exercise...
You have a magic bag of tricks.
Yeah, a magic bag of tricks here. The exercise is... I'm going to take an LED here, and this is just 2 watch batteries. Oops. Each of these is, 1.5 volt watch battery, and this is an LED that requires 3 volts to power it. So if you have less than 3 volts, I mean, not everybody knows how these work, so I'll explain a little bit. If you have less than 3 volts, current won't flow. It won't allow the current to flow, and so you won't get any light. And if you have 3 volts or more, it will flow. So I've got 2 1.5 volt batteries here, and so I can light this with just these batteries. But this is the conventional way of lighting. Let me arrange these properly though first, so I can do this. I've got some magnets that I'm just going to use to kind of hold the batteries together. Thank you. And to connect the batteries to the coil.
Do you want to sit over here?
Or to the
no, on this side.
LED.
Over here. Oh, and I just.
So it's going to take me just a second here to do this.
There you go. Oh, good boy. Hello. 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 He can talk. He can say hello. 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 Hello.
Oh.
Hello. 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 It's pretty good.
So just to explain what I've got here at the moment is just 2.
Oh. Hello. He's got his magnets ready.
It's okay. So I've got two batteries, 1.5 volt watch batteries.
Dead cat.
So it's a 3 volt circuit right now, and if I put this in the correct direction, it will light up.
Hello.
So there you go.
I think he's just enjoying.
So this is conventional lighting. This is nothing unusual. It's just 2 1.5 volt batteries. So it generates 3 volts across the 2 of them in series, lighting an LED. But if I take off one of these batteries, so I've now got only one 1.5 volt battery.
You make your flashlight?
I've got one 1.5 volt battery now. If I try to light this now, same way, nothing. I could do it either way. It's not going to go. It's not enough voltage. Okay. So the objective is to use just this one 1.5 volt battery now to light an LED. So I'm going to take this one and set this aside. Put that away. It'll take me a minute to set up here, so you don't have to necessarily keep the camera on me the whole time unless you want to. But I'm just going to try to.
Let's see what the cat's up to now.
Oh yes. And I got my mic working again.
Did you get your part?
I did. Yeah, it was on the floor in the patio.
It's a good thing you got it before they swept.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I thought it was garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, show.
So it was fun. We had it for a while when he was diabetic. So we did a diabetic cat named Sugar.
So let me show you this real quick too here. So this is an LED, just like that other one. I've got to straighten this out a little bit because it got a little tangled in here. It's got a transistor connected to.
What are you doing, Filbert?
Hold on. It's got tangled. It's not good. Here we go.
So here we're actually using the virtual machine to mix the ambiers.
There we go. All right, so this is another LED. I can use the same one, but I've already got this one kind of connected. There's a transistor that's been connected here. This is a PN2222A probably. I think you can get like 50 of these for like under $3. They're cheap.
Talking about power in the house.
So this is just a transistor, and if people don't know what a transistor is, I can probably explain it a little bit, but first let me explain what I've got here. And this is a resistor. This is a 1K resistor. And this is connected to the base of the transistor. And I've got the collector, what's called the collector of the transistor, connected to one of the terminals of the LED. What the transistor does is it acts as a switch. It'll turn on and off. And I'm going to connect it to this coil through this base resistor. And what will happen is, as the voltage travels through the coil to the base, this resistor will limit the amount of current that flows to the base. And it will create a higher voltage at the collector. And this will rise until it is sufficient to go through the LED. And when that happens, the transistor will shut off, and so all the energy from the coil will be forced to go back in the opposite direction, and it will pulse out, and it will come through the LED and to the first one I'm going to do is connect this to the emitter. This is a standard Joule thief. And you can find a Joule Thief on the internet. It's a very well-known circuit. The only thing that's different about this compared to most of the Joule Thieves you'll see is that I'm using this bifilar pancake, which, as I said, this is just a speaker wire, two wires and one, bifilar connection there, wire like that. And it makes it a little bit, both cheaper and more powerful, honestly, than the traditional Joule Thief, just because you're using this kind of Tesla type of coil. So what I need to do is do some wires here to connect this up. So give me a moment to do that, and that'll probably be easier if I can get on the floor and sit down. So this will just take me a moment. So what I want to do is go from the positive of the battery to the center of the coil.
Oh yeah, they're gonna start raising now.
And so, I guess I can talk through this a little bit as I'm going. So the positive from the battery, 1.5 volt battery right now, and it could be less than 1.5 volt. This would work if it was a dead battery. It would work if it was a 1 volt, and that was it. This would still be able to light the LED down to about probably 0.75 volts. It'll probably work.
And the rainbow flag is
But this is going to the center, which means that the current is moving both from the outside in and from the inside out. So it's creating that direction. If I connected it to one end instead of the center, then it would actually create more inductance than a standard coil, because you have the coil would go in and then go back to the outside and go all the way back in again, and you'd have the two coils kind of in parallel. But I'm doing them in opposition.
Nothing's wrong. No, I just want to. Thank you for helping out.
Sure.
Okay, so what I want to do here is then take the
My Lotus got little ears.
the high voltage, I'm going to call from the center.
Satan.
Okay. And I'm going to connect this to the collector.
I see the little bit that says Punk Boy? Yeah. That was made by my sister.
So in a sense, we're really not that different from the original circuit. If you think about how we had this before, we originally had the 1.5 or the 3 volts going directly into the collector and then to the emitter, not to the emitter, to the one terminal of the LED and then to the other terminal of the LED. Sorry, using the wrong terminology there. And then this was going to the base. But instead of doing it that way, what we're going to do is use this transistor in the middle here. So the way I'll do that is
So I did on 4th of July was I put my mask on.
connect this end of this base resistor
The
opposite end of the coil.
So instead of having a Bluetooth from my phone,
By doing that,
I made MP3s of the anonymous voice reading the Constitution.
When this LED, when this transistor now has power coming from this end of the coil, it will allow the current to travel directly across the transistor and bypass the LED. And what that will do is, until the voltage is high enough to light the LED, it'll just keep building up in the coil. It'll allow that voltage to rise. And this part is going to connect to... Let me just connect both of these together right now.
I didn't meet him until just a couple minutes ago.
Should work. Yeah. Just going to do that.
I want to put together a GoFundMe.
And
To do like, see those kids
there you
who
go.
just out and
So
get
this is a
people.
standard Joule Thief right now, except for this type of coil that I'm using. And you're just going directly to...
Because that's one of our projects this winter is to go and build the homes. We have a great, the Goodwill has what they call the as-is store here.
So I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm gonna do a slightly different
Stuff that they
circuit.
don't want to sort.
What I'm gonna do differently now, I'm gonna connect the
But that stores like everything that's a dollar.
This is the ground wire that'll connect to the base, but I don't want it connected to the base right now. I don't want it connected to the negative right now. I'm going to connect this to the base of the transistor again. I mean to the emitter of the transistor again. Use the wrong language. Sorry. So here's the emitter of the transistor again, but I have not connected it to the LED. Instead, what I'm going to do is connect the LED.
We want to encourage them to do nice things for just with the demonstration. What's the thing? It's like you don't need to do so much. It's just like on the outside. If you really want to affect this, I don't have to go inside. But inside, I don't mean.
This I'm going to connect back to the center of the coil. So it's really going to the positive instead of the negative of the battery, if you understand that, because the positive of the battery is going to the center of the coil. So I could literally connect this right here. I'll just put it right here. So that's going to the positive now instead of the negative. And even now, with this going to the positive of the battery, if I bring this one back over here to the negative, you will see I'm lighting that LED.
Oh, you can get channel 2 out there. Whenever you need to.
It's still up to the producer.
So this is what's called a Bedini style circuit. And the reason it's called a Bedini style circuit is because he built battery chargers. And he used a similar type of a layout.
I think it's important to.
What's really significant about this, then, is... Let me take this one more step. Let me bring the other LED back out again. And let me try to see... Not sure if I've got it in the right direction or not. I'll try it.
But with the plan to launch the thing, but then have people on the same page.
Sure, maybe. Yep. See, now I'm lighting two LEDs. 1.5 volts still. We're not using 3 volts, we're using 1.5 volts. This LED is being lit by the return coming from this one before it gets back to the positive of that battery. Now you see how this is kind of like looking like an unusual circuit.
You have to pick that up. And that's people you trust and you're comfortable working with.
Now, let's say that I wanted to charge a battery. If I were to put a battery that I wanted to charge between here and here, it would actually be pulsing that battery with negative amps to the positive terminal, if I hook it up correctly. This battery would actually charge. So while this battery is providing light, it's providing energy for a practical purpose. At the same time, it's charging another battery. And that charging process is an electrolytic process which is endothermic. It draws heat out of the environment. So it's really a kind of solar power. If you think about, heat coming from the sun, largely. I mean, some of it comes from the earth. But most of the heat in our environment is because the sun, heats the air. And so you're really running a solar circuit. Okay, it's not like magic in the sense of having to rely on some sort of 0-point explanation. It's very simple. It's electrolytic, and you can very easily charge not only and this is 6 volts that we're running off of 1.5 volts. You could run 12 volts off of that instead of 6 volts if I put more LEDs in that circuit. I only have the 2 with me. And you don't see it. It looks like it's a constantly on light, but what it's actually doing is turning on for a very fraction of a second, many times per second.
Yeah, I know about pulse width modulation.
Right, but not everybody watching, so I need to maybe explain at a level that's below where you personally understand. So I'm trying to be very simple.
Yeah, I guess my first question is, I don't understand all the principles here completely, but you're unlikely to convince anyone, I think, that you're basically generating energy for free unless you remove the battery from the circuit, because
Oh no! It's not free because you need some input power to run the circuit. But the amount of energy you need to run the circuit is a very small fraction of the amount of energy that you're able to extract from the circuit. So it's
that still seems counterintuitive.
Well, it seems counterintuitive if you don't understand electrolysis. But if you understand that electrolytic process, which is how a battery charges, is endothermic, that it absorbs heat energy. then
from out of the air.
out of the heat of the environment. Then you understand you're getting more energy out than you're putting in.
Sounds awesome.
Even though, in fact, you are using some energy to power it. So you need to have a certain amount of starting energy to run a circuit. And you could try to do something to try to make it self-power through like a capacitor and whatever. But I'm not even trying to make it complicated. I'm trying to make this very simple. And you can take your conventional batteries and run this, and you can charge your conventional batteries, and you can run things off of the things that you've charged.
Are you saying this will run forever?
No, this battery will run down. But if you put another battery on it and charge another battery with it, or even lots of batteries at one time, you could then take one of those batteries, put that in place, and then keep running it. So yes, you could run it forever with a little bit of moving the
negligible amount of maintenance.
Certain amount of maintenance and changing batteries every so often. But it's just like collecting the rainwater every day, okay? It comes down, and you have to take it from the collection receptacle and empty the receptacle when the receptacle gets full. So if you think of these as buckets, okay, as batteries as being basically like energy buckets. You can fill the energy bucket, but when the energy bucket is full, you have to empty it. And when the energy bucket gets empty, if you're running that one as one that you're emptying, then when it gets empty, you need to replace it.
Well, couldn't you automate that process and have two batteries that are solid state switched?
There are ways that people have done these kinds of circuits that I am not really all that concerned with trying to build, because it seems we don't need to automate to that degree when we're just trying to explain the circuit. Okay, but if you're trying to build this on a larger scale and you feel that you need to automate some sort of process like that, it's doable according to people who, in fact, John Bedini, I believe, has plans for that kind of thing, and he charges for his plans. But this is open source, so anybody can build this. And the cost of this whole circuit is really almost nothing. You do not need to use a stereo cable like I did for this one. You can take any wire, and if you wrap it with some tape, just take a piece or paper and just make it a flat cable with some paper or tape, and then you have two of those like that. You can just put them alongside each other and then roll those up.
Yep.
So you can very easily make a bifilar pancake with just things laying around the house and any piece of wire that you got. And the cost of that is, potentially pennies, right? I mean,
how big do these things have to be to, right now we're probably talking about lights that are, what are these things, like 0.1 watts or something? These are
these are very small wattage. These are, I think 20 milliamps, or something like that.
Okay, so 0.02 watts. Milliamps though. So...
Well, the
3 volts,
the watts is the voltage times the amps. So it's 0.02 times 6 for the two of them. So
0.06, okay.
Do the math. But yeah, the thing is, yes, you can scale this up, and this is a very small and very simple model. What I've actually built and designed, and I can show some simulations that I brought. It's on my computer. You can make much more complex circuitry that makes this a lot more efficient. And not that much more complex, but you basically can add a capacitor, and then you add what I call flux capacitors. These pancake coils are really flux capacitors. I know, it's from Back to the Future. But really, this is what Tesla invented, and they were kind of making a fictionalized, sort of a very modified concept of that to try to talk about time travel or whatever. But
Back to the Future.
Yeah, but actually Tesla was talking about a lot of this. The kind of energy that's being produced here is not conventional energy.
Where the solar part comes in? I don't understand.
The solar part comes in if you're charging a battery. If I put a battery in here that I'm going to charge...
Where's the sun? There's no sunlight there.
There's heat.
Heat?
Heat.
It's heat. It's not sunlight. It's heat.
It's solar power. The heat that you have is solar.
So if you put it inside a volcano, it would be even better.
Probably not. I mean, you don't need that much heat.
Moderation.
Yeah. I mean, you could charge your battery in a volcano if you
That's
want
what I
to,
learned
but
in German class.
battery might not survive.
That's the only thing I remember from German class, moderation.
No, just the fact that the process of electrolysis.
Can we just build a fire and do it?
You don't need to build. You just have air. You
Air?
You don't get more power from more heat. It's not about throwing heat at it. It's just literally absorbing heat out of the environment. It just literally absorbs the heat. You provide an energetic pulse that simulates electrolysis. The electrolysis in the battery will absorb heat. It's an endothermic process.
Can we create a device that will automatically change the batteries around, basically?
Yeah, we were just discussing that. Yes.
Is it possible?
It is possible.
Have you figured it out?
Other people have.
People already have?
Yeah.
How big would the contraption be?
I mean, you see how small this is? It can be very small. You could do large. You could do small, you can do large.
No, I'll tell you, like, having a ability to cheaply produce, like, long-term power for a device could be very useful for tactical media, because like one of the issues we need to create our own local networks for big actions, data networks, because the reality is when there's going to be some kind of unrest of some sort, the authorities will turn off the internet. They'll turn off 3G.
We can use these for communications as well. There actually are ways to turn these into radio. I didn't bring all the kind of extras to make it more elaborate. But you could actually create an internet of these kinds of devices where Tesla was literally using this to transmit electricity as well as information from point to point, from any point on the globe to any point on the globe, or anywhere really in the universe theoretically, if you have a sufficiently pulse. And it's really not a matter of the amount of input power; it's the amount of the sharpness of the pulse that you can generate. The sharper the pulse you can generate, the more you can penetrate with that pulse.
So how miniature can you make that? What's called the Tesla battery?
This could be fabricated. These can be fabricated.
We have a question that relates to your question. So Puzitz is asking, does the amount of energy change with the size of the coil?
Yes and no. The amount of energy is whatever you're putting in, regardless, right? How you do your geometry determines, what type of energy you want to produce. A larger coil will produce a slower pulse, but it will also be a larger pulse with the same amount of input because it's storing more energy. So it's just it's a longer delay, and it's just a bigger boom, boom, boom for each pulse. But that's not necessarily advantageous for a circuit like this. You actually want a fast coil. You don't want the thing to be pulsing every second. You want it to be pulsing many, many times a second. So you don't want a great big pulse with lots of inductance.
Irish coffee.
Yay!
But yeah, I mean, the geometry can basically be set to give you whatever your desired pulse is. You could put a timer on it, and you could have a very specifically calibrated pulse. This is a non-timed circuit. This is basically self-oscillating. There's no external input of timing to this circuit. It's just whenever the voltage rises to the point that this can cross, this transistor will shut itself off, allow that pulse to go. And the pulse is actually kind of like triangular, the way that it's coming off of this.
Can you move it over here so we can see?
Yeah. Yeah. The pulse that comes off of this is really kind of a triangular one. It's not an ideal pulse because what it turns out when somebody actually put a photo sensor on the LED and measured the light output with the respect to the pulse, the actual light happens only at the top of the pulse, and when the voltage actually drops on the triangular part, the illumination actually drops off pretty much immediately. So that's actually still wasted energy in the way that this is currently being shown for a lighting circuit. But again, putting a tuned capacitor on the circuit, and I'll show some simulations later if you want. I've got that on the computer. Putting a capacitor on there, and then putting some more flux capacitors, which are Tesla coils and very small ones, where you just keep one little loop self-connected. And what that one self-connected loop does is it creates that oppositional energy to cancel the self-inductance again. But not only that, since it's self-connected, it just loops around. So the next pulse that comes, it captures that energy and adds it to itself. So you actually increase the amps coming out above the amps going in. You can literally have more amps out than in because the amps that were stored, that were created in that loop, are just brought back into the next time. And this requires a little bit of calibration, and I'll show you that. And what that will also generate is a very sharp pulse, a standing pulse with no triangular drop-off, because that triangular drop-off gets absorbed into the other coils. And with another resistor placed onto the flux capacitors, you can help the coil be more efficient and draw another power for running other lighting or running whatever you want to do of fans or motors or anything. So this basically allows you to, for very, very low cost, let me just basically put this into practical terms. For very, very low cost, you could produce light, you can produce energy that is stored for a battery to run your lights, and you can produce ventilation, you can produce heating and cooling, you can do all kinds of things. So you can produce agriculture, you can produce clean water, you can produce, the needs that people have, you can produce those. And the cost of doing so is next to nothing. So what I was saying is that, this would cost you almost like pennies. These transistors, I think, are 50 of them for like $3 or less on eBay. Shipping, it doesn't cost anything. The LEDs you can get pretty cheaply. And LEDs are conventionally used for a lot of agricultural purposes too, if you get the right kinds for that. And resistor, just a standard resistor. Those are not expensive.
So is there like a kit? All the links you need to buy, and then instructions how to put it together?
This is what I want to do, okay? My thought of an actual cooperative is to build these kinds of circuits with full plans, diagrams, instructions of how to build your own. But with an already constructed kit that people can immediately use, and to provide these people. And there's also batteries, which are part of what I've been studying. And you can make coils that are made with the battery built in. And the way you do that is copper, basically ordinary salt, followed by alum, which is something you can get at the supermarket. It's
it's in the spice aisle.
Spice aisle, yeah, alum, and then aluminum. And you use glue between the layers, and you can allow it to dry, and it will continue to operate because and I've actually blogged about that some.
Zinc, because copper and zinc is what you use to make like potato batter.
No, I use aluminum foil because it's readily available.
But you're getting all all the components manufactured in China. What you're buying on eBay, what you're buying is China stuff, right?
No, it doesn't have to be. There's other places as well.
Most of it though.
But a lot of it is, yeah.
Most of it, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that.
No, I'm not attacking it.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that I've seen we'll be buying a lot of electronic components on eBay, and you can actually, for example, use a simple thing as USB cables, right? Yeah. You go buy them on eBay, they're super cheap on eBay, right? But you get the cables that don't really work very well. Especially when you're live streaming, you need a good connection between the phone and whatever battery. Doesn't work. So with something like this, also, if you're getting crappy components, you got problems. It's very important to have a good spec of what to get, so people who are not experts know where to go get it.
What I'm trying to say is this transistor could be any transistor, basically. Okay, you could pull it out of an existing piece of electronics if you want to. You could just, yank a transistor out of something. But these happen to be the cheapest and easiest way for me to get it for the purpose of just demonstrating it.
Yeah.
And its point is, these are super cheap transistors. You could use more expensive transistors, and I have plans to use better transistors to make more powerful circuits. If you can handle a higher voltage, then you can drive a much more powerful circuit, many coils. But you can use a very small, very low power transistor and use a lot of coils.
Fuzit has a question. Fuzit said, so what was the workout Vlad had for dual audio streams?
Oh, is it dual? Are there two?
I don't know, you read it.
Can we finish this topic first and then move on to the other one?
Yeah, sure.
I had a point. I
want to really quickly before I lose my thought on one thing, and I'll get to that. But you had asked me before about miniaturizing, and that's a really important question.
Yes. So, Fuzit, I don't know what are the dual audio streams. Maybe we need to check. Maybe we're broadcasting two feeds.
No, he wants to know about how it would work. I think he's asking about
Are you bringing the audio from
theory. I'm just saying.
Oh, the question.
That's fantastic. There's questions, and we're having a conversation in the room here about this topic, so it doesn't really seem. It's not really.
Yeah, but I just wanted to read that right now because I'll forget if I don't do it now.
Yeah, it's okay. Although it's.
I don't mean to interrupt or anything. I just.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a question of precedence. It's a question of.
But now we all know, so.
Conversational coherence, and we should point out that's a really serious problem with social media. this idea that whatever someone says has to be brought in the room. It's the loss of focus on human interaction. It's looking at screens and fragmenting into multiple conversations. I mean, these are real.
Yeah, but
negative side effects.
Yeah, but there's another side to it, because in order to become, you want to be able to open up work group meetings and so on to people outside physical space being able to participate. Now, I'm not saying just open up completely to online world, but if you find a way, if you enable people to actually participate, not just watch in a voyeuristic way, but actually participate in the, working together and so on and so on, you can have some very interesting things happening. But obviously, there's no substitute for true human interaction, so it's not supposed to be a substitute, but it would be some kind of a local focus, but federated.
Real human interaction is so awesome.
It's usually the way I think a lot of times it's worked is who's ever streaming is the one getting the questions, obviously, because they've got the chat in there. But then them just acting as the proxy between the two. So like when it opens up to questions, then you just raise your hand as the proxy for the person who's online.
That works.
And I want to talk more about the social media stuff. That's actually kind of, in some way, I'm very interested in this. Although I think, these are the questions I think that we came here to talk about. I just wanted to kind of.
Yeah, we can like finish this and then get to that.
He's fixing it right now.
Well, I wanted to comment on the whole framing of this type of project. I mean, I think we were talking earlier about there's this general idea that there's a number of low-hanging fruit projects, especially in the energy domain, that could potentially have huge benefits, like quasi-perpetual motion machines. I'm of course always very excited to hear about them. Everyone is, because these have huge, I mean, if it works, it has huge promise, but of course there's all these questions, such as why, if it's so easy to do something with such great benefits, why hasn't it been done so far?
Because it's been suppressed. It's very actively suppressed and ridiculed. I mean, Tesla has been ridiculed for a century.
Yeah,
and this is really just Tesla technology. This is 100-year-old technology. And I'm not even using, other than the transistor. Transistor is newer than Tesla. But you can, by the way, build a transistor out of like water with some additives. I'm not really able to recall right now. I can look it up. But I think borax or something like that. And create, diodes. And if you combine diodes, you can create transistors. Right. It's all doable. So if you were in a situation where you couldn't order anything and you couldn't get access to any electronics, and you just have wire, you can literally build this out of just wire. Although it would be very, big and crude compared to trying to use a transistor, which is really small and easy to use. But so about miniaturization, because that was really an important question. And transistors, they can be miniaturized. The coil also can be miniaturized. The only things that get a little bit more complicated for me to figure out is the math of multiple coils that are near each other and their interference with each other. So that will require a little bit more analysis. But I've done circuit designs that operate on, for instance, 1/4 of a volt, and that you would use, say, 25 of those to generate a kilovolt, operating the whole thing off of about 3.25 watts. And producing 700 watts to a charging battery, as well as lighting hundreds of CCFLs.
How long will you want to have battery last?
A long time, really long time.
It will last a long time?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that wouldn't necessarily be a battery. When I say 1/4 volt, you could have that be on a power supply, which is being supplied from an outlet if you want to. It doesn't really matter. It can be from anywhere. So you don't have to use a battery which runs down. You can have a power supply which is continuous, and it could be a solar panel. Okay? So 1/4 volt at 3.25 watts can be done pretty easily from a solar panel and some voltage dividers. Not too hard. Not too hard. And you would have effectively I guess a solar panel, you wouldn't have power at night. But if you hook that up with another battery that you're charging and run that, you could definitely have this run infinitely, and not need to ever connect back to mains. But the more you try to make it efficient, there's certainly more complexity in the design. So there's a level at which you find sort of is reasonable. You say, I don't want to do a billion circuits. But that's where we get into miniaturization. And so miniaturization is, these could be fabricated. They could be fabricated on a PCB. They could be fabricated on an IC, theoretically. Again, it's just a matter of what are the relationships between the coils in very close proximity to each other in that kind of a density environment. So I need to do the right kind of analysis.
Do you have access to printers or printed prototypes?
No, I don't have access to any. I mean, there are online PCB printers. I don't have money right now to be able to like order that, and you usually have to buy them in some number. Yeah, I mean 100 of them.
But how do you test? How do you test? Is it too close to try? You have to actually make it to try it.
I'm not in a position right now to properly test anything because you have to buy equipment to test with. You have to get oscilloscopes. You have to get other kinds of instruments that are probably more sensitive than that, or build them, because the conventional instruments aren't really designed for measuring very fast impulses. They're designed for more smooth types of waveforms. Whether it's an AC, which is a smooth sine wave, or a DC, which is solid. And yeah, I mean, they can measure different kinds of things, but the frequencies might be much higher, and the impulses might be much larger than those circuits could conceivably measure. So you might have to build your own. But I only have like a single room occupancy apartment right now. I mean, I'm living in a bedroom with a bathroom, but I can't build anything or store anything or do anything with it. But what I've been doing is very small, simple example to show the theory works, and then simulations to show what can be done. And the simulations I view as being mathematical proof. It's not just me doing a diagram and saying this will work. It's me putting a diagram into a Java simulator, which is used by people to verify their circuits and see that it works. So it's just a matter of building it. But yeah, you could build a micro scale IC running off of some tiny fraction of a millivolt and have a million coils or something generating effectively infinite power. And when you're operating on that small of an input voltage, you could be pulling that out of the air, because it's easy to pull a very small voltage out of the air. If it's very small, you're not trying to do a whole lot, or out of the ground, but you have a lot of current. That's actually better. The ground is where you got the largest amount of electric current. So like two pieces of metal, different metal in the ground, you basically an earth battery. It needs to be a little damp, but that's it. You could power a battery charger, lighting circuit. I'm looking at trying to figure out ways to do refrigeration as well, for the purpose of drawing water out of the air, because you can have active water gathering. And if you're in a desert, environment, because this has to be helpful everywhere. This has to be useful not just for our particular first world, situation, but people that live in very hostile environments have the greatest needs in many cases. And even where you're in a desert where there's no water on the ground and there's no rain falling, there is moisture in the air. There's always water. And if you have an efficient energy circuit, you always got lots of sunlight in a desert, probably. If you have a little solar collector, the appropriate kind of circuitry with a little well-calibrated Peltier device to generate a heat differential, you can condense water right out of the air and collect it. And that means people can have drinking water, and that means people can have water for actually creating gardens in the desert, and actually making the desert into a new non-desert ecosystem. Because what turns out from the permaculture research, I think, is that ecosystems create their own weather, right? They actually will trap water within the soil and create their own clouds, which will then rain back on top and keep
Somebody's dying. Well, I think we have more power in my bag right there.
So these circuits,
can you help me,
I think, are highly practical for all kinds of things. And I'm not saying that these are optimal either, but they're easy. Anybody could build this.
But the question is how useful it is, because if you could build a bigger one that could actually provide enough power to run certain things, for example, a phone.
Yeah.
You can have.
Or my apartment.
You wouldn't use this directly to run a phone.
Apartment is this. First the phone. Let's get to phone level. A small thing that powers a phone. A battery, going back, that doesn't run out.
That's precisely easy. So what you do is you use this kind of a circuit, or a more advanced version, what I call RAM pulsars, and I'll show you those simulations, to charge a battery, and then use the battery to run your conventional circuits. So you can run a battery with a 12-volt battery, like a car battery or something like that, charge that, use that to an inverter to run a standard 110-volt AC, plug your phone charger into that, and there you go. You're charging your phone off the battery off of this. So it's just a couple stages. You want to change the form of energy that you provide so that the device that expects a certain type of energy gets the type of energy it expects. It doesn't work to give a device a type of energy that it can't use.
All right.
So giving impulses to your cell phone wouldn't help. And if it's a lithium-ion battery, they're not safe to charge unless you use their special circuitry, because their special circuitry prevents them from blowing up. You don't really want to make your battery blow up. I'm not saying it will, but not recommended. But if you have a standard, the easiest types of chargeable batteries that you can just buy are obviously like car batteries. But you can actually build batteries out of, like I was saying, very simple materials like silver foil or aluminum foil and copper tape with some alum and some salt and some Elmer's glue. Yeah, you can build a battery. And you can make them as big as you want, because use as much copper and aluminum as you want to make your battery as big as you want. See what I'm saying? You could make it as big as this room if you want to make a great big battery to power.
But is that what you need to do a cell phone? I mean, that's the thing is, I feel like there's just so many. I really want to believe it, but there's so many sort of skeptical questions one would ask, and I guess, the general framework. I want to put this back in the conversation of what we were talking about earlier. Is how do we verify? Essentially, you're alleging a conspiracy theory against the scientific principle. So you have to show, is it plausible that they could actually suppress it? Is it difficult enough that it would take a concerted effort to break through that kind of suppression? The question is it valuable enough that the people would have incentive to go around the suppression and create it?
Just to watch
how does it scale up? There's so many examples I think that we have, and you might argue. Do you mind if I just finish? There's so many examples of things right now that I want to believe in. Sure, that there's a car that can run off water, right? That someone invented a 150 mile an hour per gallon car, but then that got killed. That electric vehicles were capable 50 years ago. That we could have had the same level of comfort and products from hemp, but the 1937 destroying the decorticator, making it illegal, prevented that whole industry. I want to believe all these things, and so many of these things remain unproven. The conspiracy theories have not been articulated well enough to show that it's plausible that it was possible, or that it would have been possible to suppress it. And I think that
they're still around.
And if these things are really true, then how come we don't have proofs of concept happening in DIY laboratories all around? How come no one has invited me yet to see? This is a demo that shows something, but to me, to really believe this, I would need to see a running demo that basically shows. I need to see a 48-hour video of you swapping out the batteries every 2 hours and having it basically run forever.
I'm not trying to show you a thing run forever.
But you haven't proved anything.
You're getting into this running forever. This is proving something right now. You're not understanding. This is 3 volts. This is 3 volts. So that's 6 volts.
Yeah, you got a transformer.
This is 1.5 volts.
Yeah.
Okay? 1.5 volt DC is providing input to 2 batteries, and they are fully lit. So I'm showing you, by demonstration, a much more efficient circuit than a conventional lighting circuit.
Than a conventional transformer.
In fact, this type of transformer is a Tesla transformer. Yeah. This is a bipolar pancake that was invented by Tesla. He had a patent on it, although patents have expired. There might be other patents on this type of wiring. I can't tell you that.
Talking about pancakes, making me hungry.
I don't know if they are progress or not. So that's one reason why you couldn't commercially develop this.
My 2 cents said, Punk Boy.
Unless you have those patents, or license those patents, you can't commercially develop this device. Okay? So we can call that conspiracy.
Yes,
I don't call that
I'm in San
conspiracy. I call
Francisco.
that
We're at Punk Boy's house with Vlad. And Freeman Solomon is here, and
suppression can be a word.
What's your live stream channel?
No, at Being Eco.
Yeah, so we have a whole bunch of live streamers.
I'm human being.
Over here at Punk Boy's house.
Being eco, as in eco.
Sorry guys, I'm totally being ADHD here.
Transformers more efficient than the
And we're eating GMO chips and drinking wine and
GMO chips.
and whiskey.
It will not work.
I feel really bad about it. Because I know, you see right here, the corn oil and the canola oil are highly genetically modified.
Yeah.
So I better not eat
It's
more.
gluten free, so I'm gonna eat it.
It is gluten free, that's true.
It's totally
gluten free,
There's no MSG.
but it's not GMO free.
You should do 2 videos.
I would like to be
You
able
should
to
show
get,
people how to do this.
truly healthy
And my
food.
answer to that
So
is,
my 2 cents is asking what are we discussing?
people watch
So-
a
Well, we're
video
discussing,
of me doing something.
I mean, I just got
They
here.
would look at it like,
I think we're talking about
and
Tesla
they say, "That looks
Tesla
interesting, but
coils.
I don't really know if
Yeah,
that's
this guy's
doing what he
got
says
one
it's
right
doing.
here. Mike's
I don't
got
really
it.
know if he's using some other kind of, energy source that he's not showing. All kind of questions people could have.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
we'll-
there's anything hidden here.
we'll
I'm
go
just saying-
over it
What I'm
again,
saying is the very important thing.
Monday.
People
Monday what?
should have a
No,
model
no, at some time,
that they can analyze.
me and Vlad gotta sit down, he's gonna
and
give
build
me
for
another
themselves.
little tutorial on the
And by
mixing.
building
Me
for
too.
yourself,
Yeah.
the only way you will ever
This is
know
what we've been talking about.
But this time I'll take
that it
notes.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, we'll do
Okay.
The way
it.
that I'm
Yeah, for
describing
sure.
it. And you might have a different way
Alright.
of describing it. And you might find
Speaking
other
of,
people
let me
that
see if my
play better
phone's
than
charging.
other people. I'm telling you, this is hundreds of
This is fun. 2 cents.
I will definitely follow up on
Punk
this.
boy.
But I guess
2
my other
cents
question
said.
was,
My 2 cents said pass the chips.
if
Hi, Barb.
if for people who have done this circuit before and who have presented their work, how has it been
I'm
received
sorry,
by the
this is
scientific
going
community?
over my
Because that's
head, and
one
I'm
thing.
like so like.
They will ignore it.
They won't answer if you say, "Here's my theory."
Why
the
are this
scientific community
electricity?
will they
Native?
refute it or will they ignore it?
They will ignore it.
Native
They will treat it as something
interface.
that's not
Hello,
that's not
native
even worth their peer
interface.
review. Because I'm actually refuting. In terms of the theoretical
You look tired.
I would be using a
Are you
non-Einsteinian
tired?
model.
No.
And a non-Einsteinian
I was just
model,
listening to the perpetual
is not
modular presentation.
welcome
I'm trying to
in
analyze it.
Wouldn't a scientist,
I'm trying to see where's the
if
catch.
you showed them
Like,
a demo
There's something.
and gave
But I
them
think
more,
that's what
more
this guy's
data
saying,
about how
where's the
it's gonna work,
catch?
I agree
wouldn't
with
they
them.
be
I'm very
interested?
skeptical
Or
too.
doesn't
Yeah.
that make it a conspiracy
No, because
if their interests go against?
I don't know. I believe in Tesla.
But you know what? If you can create a more efficient battery for cell phones, for streamers, then we can make ourselves.
I think that's
No,
like
no, no.
everybody in the chat is like, can you make it small?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, right. That's.
How can it work for me?
Give me a
Like,
kit, you know, give me
will be
like a
cut
list
off
of
if you
what to buy, like instructions on how to put it together.
I mean, that's a big concern that we have, like power. Like,
Because that's not gonna power my cell phone for sure. I'm
is it
only-
lighter than the iSound? Because the iSound's fucking heavy. Like after 12 hours or something, the iSound is really heavy.
Which
It's
sound?
got a very low
This, my battery.
power. And at low power, you don't see it.
This
You just
one.
see the electricity.
Oh my god. Yeah, yeah.
But
It's. I mean, it's
people have
kind
shown
of.
Ours are the same.
through
It's
videos
not-
that I've seen.
Crash X Bones told me to buy it, so I bought
production
it.
Of,
It's really good.
elements
Huh?
that were not
It's really good though.
Oh, they're wonderful.
to the solution through using very high currents of electrolysis. And so new elements are being, you
I
know,
feel like I'm being
we have a
transmuted
question. We have a question from the audience.
From elements that are being
Hey, we have a
good.
question from the audience. So, so can we make a battery that will power? Can we make like a battery that lasts for like 60 hours? That will power our live streaming phones?
That's everybody watching wants to know.
That's all
like,
we want to know.
That's what I want to know.
Obvious
How
question. I think you
how can it work for me?
The battery that runs your iStreaming phones would probably be some type of very, like a lithium type of battery or something like
And
that.
would it be lighter than
You
this?
can just plug in.
Would it be lighter than
5
this?
volts.
Because this is
If you
heavy.
use USB.
If you can plug into a rechargeable battery of some type, which could be really even like I think alkaline batteries, even though they say they're not rechargeable, they are. So you could use any kind of like alkaline battery.
Let's dodge that question. Take the battery out of the phone. These things take what, 15, 20 watts running at full bandwidth. You just plug in 5 volts through the USB port. Simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a black box. Takes 20 watts.
Can you charge
It'll
this
run
one?
forever.
No, I'm
It would
good.
be possible to build
You
a
could
circuit.
have 2 more batteries. Yeah.
It would be possible to
Sorry,
build a circuit. You would still want to have an input power of some amount. That's a regular input power, because whatever source that you are running from, you shouldn't be the same one that you're charging.
So let's say if I need 60 watts,
Yeah.
for example. How many watts do I need to pump in to get out 60 watts?
It could be as little as you want. If you want to use a lot of
Perfect.
coils. If you want to use a lot of coils.
Okay, so
see.
my 2 cents
So
is
let me bring
saying
up the simulator.
she said, give this
Let's say you
guy.
want 10 watts. That's a reasonable, fairly.
No. He's saying how many coils. So how many coils would I need to do at 60 watts?
So she said, give this guy donations so he can hurry up and build it.
I don't want money. I want people to build these, and I want to build a cooperative. I want to build a cooperative of people that will that will work with me and other people to build these. And we can give them.
Yeah, we just want to buy it. We don't want to build it. We just want to buy it.
Here's the ugly question. So if the suppression has been so strong so far, wouldn't we expect that if we made a breakthrough that we would be eliminated, neutralized in some way?
No, that's centralized. You put it on the
It's open
internet.
source. That's why I've already put this on the
Can
internet.
you move it over here so I can show them?
You're saying it's too late. They wouldn't benefit by killing you off.
No, I've already released everything.
All right,
all
I'm
the
moving
plans have
over
already
there.
been published. The simulations are on the internet, and they would have to take down all the, you know.
There's new people who don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Right, but wouldn't they also realize that,
So
that
this
it's
is
not
it
just
here.
putting it on the internet that matters, it's championing the cause. That's what's missing. There's no champions for these
Well,
things.
there needs to be public relations. There absolutely needs to be marketing of some type. But see, I can only do so much myself, right? And I'm not an artist, and I'm not a public relations or marketing person. And most people who want to do these kinds of things are not interested in what I'm interested in anyhow. So I'm trying to find people that want to be interested in doing this kind of stuff that have different skills, not necessarily the skills of doing what I'm doing, but others. So you have skills with media. So if you take your skills with media and combine it with technology, then you can give people technology through media. That's really all this is. I'm not having an internet connection right now. Let me see if I can get on the internet. If I can't, it doesn't matter. Let me get off this.
You can ask Funk. Funk knows the password.
Okay, let me.
Will it work when I'm streaming?
What?
Because I'm using Punk Boy's Wi-Fi.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to try to find it.
Here's a question. Here's one other question though. Do you feel 100% certain that you're going to be able to scale this up to something useful, or are you just you have an intuition and you have some early ideas? I guess, and that kind of gets at this whole thing. I think a lot of activists feel very sure that their vision for a new technology, whether it's an economic technology or social technology, very sure that it's right. But sometimes it tends to actually be, very much less proven than they say. And as soon as they kind of step out into the light and have a lot of, into the more general public and get a lot of questions and try things out, all of a sudden they're going, oh, that's actually, not right. Or it's, and I wonder if we should be coming from the perspective of being very sort of speculatively certain, or if it's actually healthier to sort of embrace the uncertainty, because to me it's kind of a turnoff when people say that they're so sure about something if they haven't really tried it yet.
You need to focus. The first thing you guys need to do is build a working prototype that's useful.
Yeah. Okay.
Not this, but useful. If you build one prototype that's useful, that's really cheap to make, and you suddenly create value.
Yeah.
Then everyone's gonna say, "Oh wow, this is great." So A, they're gonna buy those things from you, and B, they're gonna fund you to go.
Well, I'm not gonna sell them. I'm gonna give them for mutual gratitude, and that's my whole point. And I talked about currency before, replacing the currency.
Okay.
So what I want to do is build a mutual gratitude-based cooperative that will decide among ourselves, okay? Because I'm not gonna try to make the decision what's most useful for people.
Can you hold it for me?
I have certain things that I might want to do with the circuits that are not what people want to do with the circuits. I'm mostly focusing on how do I produce lighting and things like that, and do so at very low cost, because at one time I had a small garden and I found the energy costs were very expensive, and so I found this was something that would solve that particular problem that I had, okay, in the future. But as of right now, it's just to show the theory that this can be done and the practical circuits that demonstrate it. Yes, this can be scaled up very, very easily. And what I was saying before about batteries, and I was talking about the copper, aluminum, alum salt battery. That's an extremely practical circuit itself, because, like I said, that can be done as a coil with a built-in battery, and it can be as large as you want. This is totally practical, because you can have a sheet of aluminum as large as you want, you can have a sheet of copper as large as you want, and you can wind them into a room-sized battery if you want. You could power an apartment building off of those batteries. Then you can have a small little type of circuit like this, or maybe multiple coils like this, that are charging that battery on a certain cycle. Maybe you have two batteries, one that's currently charging and one that's currently running. And even that running battery can be providing the input power to charging the other battery. So you can cycle them, and you can build this on a large scale. There's absolutely no question this can be done. I mean, the basic prototypes demonstrate.
But okay, so can you come up with a plan to build a prototype that's useful? So
yeah.
Either a board.
I think we should build a 10-watt prototype right away. Well, and not, you don't have to swap the battery out. You just flip. We can do a manual flip switch. Right. So you have one battery that's charging, one that's being used. We have a switch every 10 minutes. You switch it, and then you record a video of yourself running it for a week. on a battery that should last a day. And then there you go. You got
the Joule Thief is well known. I mean, you can look this up. Just look up the Joule Thief, okay? Because this is really very little different from a standard Joule Thief. This has been known for 10 years at least on the internet, and it's been well documented.
But the question is, so a battery has a number of milliwatt hours in it, right? For instance, that might be how you measure it. And the question is, are we increasing the number? Let's say we start with 2 batteries that are full, and you know they have, you have a total of, let's say they're very small batteries. You have 2 1,000 milliwatt hour batteries, and you have 2 of them. The question is, are you gonna? And then you have, you know, some load, which, I mean, let's just make the math easy, right? Let's just say we have a 1 watt load. With those 2 batteries, you'd normally be able to run it for 2 hours. The question is, can you run it for longer?
Yeah.
And you're arguing that you could actually run it basically forever, which is a perpetual motion machine.
No. See, I'm not saying forever. I'm saying that the battery that is providing the run charge will run down.
Right, but we switch it out. So okay, so we got 2 batteries. They're both 1 watt hour batteries, and we have a 1 watt load. If you had 2 of them and you were switching them,
so what does it give you then?
Can I finish?
Yeah.
So we have 2 batteries. We have a switch between them, and normally we would, if we wanted to run, if we had 2 batteries and a 1 watt load, they're each 1 watt hour batteries. We'd have battery A for the first hour, then we'd switch it over to battery B for the second hour, and that would drain. 2 hours later, our thing is dead. With this circuit, what I'm understanding is that we could alternate between charging battery A and charging battery B, such that we start.
It's better than that. It's actually better than that, because you can use 1 battery and charge multiple batteries.
But can we just get simple? We got 2 batteries. We got to switch between them, so we can switch between whatever's being charged by your Tesla system and which one is being used to power the load. I'm saying, true or false? Can your system basically be powered off battery A for an hour, and then I switch it over to battery B, and then while that battery B is draining for the hour, no thank you.
Homemade applesauce.
Can battery A be being charged for that hour, and then I can keep switching it every hour, and I can keep doing that forever? It's a very simple question.
No, you can't do it that way, because when you charge a battery, the battery needs some time to charge itself after you turn off the circuit. So there's you have to designate a charging battery, and this I mostly read rather than doing a lot of experiments myself. But John Bedini has done these experiments, so you want to look up John Bedini.
Okay, I'll look up John Bedini.
And
but he said he charges for literature. I mean,
no, he charges for his.
That's a big red flag. That's all. There's well-known like solar panel scams where people charge $29.99 for their plans. They're almost always crackpot stuff, man. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I want to believe too, but like, you know, my first inclination is to say you've been suckered into yet another stupid internet scam.
No.
And then this thing doesn't prove at all what you're saying.
But I'm not actually selling anything.
But that doesn't matter.
John Bedini is not selling the fact
but
that
that's still, it doesn't matter because people are influenced by all kinds of other value.
You know what?
They're getting attention, they're influenced by wanting to believe and optimism. There's all kinds of other non-monetary things that pull people into scams.
Right.
And we should be aware of those in general.
I'm not selling anything. Let's be really clear here, okay? I'm only demonstrating. And these are open source.
You're selling it. You're trying to convince me.
You're selling it on the
I'm not asking for any money.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. You can disbelieve.
Okay, can I jump in here for 1 second?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's an interesting idea. There's a few things I've been watching it the whole time. I don't understand. Like, I actually don't understand. Getting a battery and plugging. Usually, it looks to me that the battery which is drained twice as fast than before.
Well, actually, no. And that's where you have to go into the simulations to really see it.
No, it's a principle. It's like you're not really using
because
this.
You're not providing the power continuously like you are in a normal circuit. You're actually pulsing it. So the battery is actually being used half as much as in a normal circuit. And it can run down to a lower voltage. The battery would continue to work, and it's actually pretty much dead right now.
I understand.
Because I've been using this battery for a while to demonstrate this. And not just here, but before for myself and so forth. But it will run down slower, and it will run longer because it's able to run at lower voltage.
Okay.
Because typically when a battery runs below about 1.2 volts,
all right, it's stopped.
Typically it's out. The battery is dead. You've got to recharge it. This one you could run it down to about 0.75 volts using just this kind of circuit, and it would still continue to work.
No, okay.
So it will run longer, and because the battery is actually going up to here and then dropping off as the coil provides the charge.
Hey, baby.
It kind of does this, so it's actually only using 50% utilization.
Up here.
Now, my more efficient circuits that I can show you actually use the battery full utilization. I try to actually draw as much power as I can from the battery. I'm not trying to preserve the battery as long as possible. I'm trying to draw as much power out of it as I can and to use it as efficiently as I can. My objective is not to try to do anything that's a permanent cycle. I'm not focused on that, because you can get a permanent source of energy just by putting 2 pieces of metal in the ground. As I said, you have the ability to draw a certain amount of voltage just right out of the ground. That's free energy right there, right out of the ground. Okay? So it's not a whole lot of voltage. It's a very low potential. It's about, half a volt or a volt, whatever you're going to get, unless you do lots of them. Okay? What this circuit does is it takes that little half a volt or a volt, and it turns it into as many volts as you need to run whatever circuits you need to run. As many volts as you need. You can make 1,000 volts. You can make, it'd be more coils and more wires. You could make it, 20,000 volts. It doesn't really matter. And you can use other circuits to make that more efficient. It doesn't have to be just this kind of circuit scaled like that.
Well, that would be a good demo, right? So, where there's no battery involved. You just put the stakes in the ground and light it up.
Yeah,
you think you build that?
Could I? Yes, but I'm not going around doing demonstrations. I was, invited to come and show, and so I'm doing this. But what I'm mostly trying to do is find people who want to build this.
And, I want to build it.
So, you live nearby, so maybe we should talk more about that, because I'll be happy to sit down with you and help you build it.
Yeah.
Because I think that people need to build this for themselves. I think that's what really needs to happen. It's not for me to be the person that goes out and tells everybody, but I just showed you what I did, and other people can do themselves what they do, and then show what you do, and show somebody else. But as a cooperative, we could actually do this on an industrial scale, and we could literally build, batteries and coils that go together, that work together, that charge in a practical way. We decide what kind of a circuit we want to run, whether it's a lighting circuit, whether it's a battery charging circuit, whatever it is. And we're not going to sell them. We're going to give them for a mutual gratitude. And take donations to cover our expenses, and that's what I want to do. Now, other people can do it in a different way, because this is open source. That's what my focus is. Somebody else says, what I want to do is something totally different. You're free to do that. I'm not saying you have to do it my way, but that's where I want to focus my effort, is working with people who want to give this to people and create a mutually sustaining sort of ecology, because with that kind of energy circuit, you can generate everything else. And when you can generate everything else, then we can be able to sustain each other. So we have power to run things, and power to grow things, and power to clean water.
Yeah, I guess no one's going to disagree with you there. I think it's really just a question of decoupling, decoupling things that don't necessarily have to be considered together. In other words, it seems like, the idea of being able to transform energy efficiently is one question, and then the other idea is being able to actually, create energy by transducing heat into electricity.
Yeah.
That's another question, and then and then all the other potential benefits, obviously, of truly sustainable energy are those are unquestionable, and how you run your collective economically is a completely separate issue. My objection is, it seems like you're dodging the issue. You first say, oh, I just want to build this and see what other people do with it, but then you say, okay, I'm going to form a collective, and I have this further goal that's still unproven, and we can do this. Those are different things, right? You haven't proven that can be done, but yet you're asking people to bond together in a collective with you.
So the proof here is in the simulations, because the simulations are a lot more advanced than this. Okay?
And you're saying you can't prove this physically until you have the cooperative.
I actually could prove this, but I don't have the instruments to really measure the outputs.
That's what I was saying. You can prove it abstractly.
Right. But even if I had the instruments to measure it, you wouldn't, by looking at my measurements, know that my measurements are accurate. The only way you would ever know, this is what real science is, okay? We have lost our concept of real science in this country. We've replaced it with a system of authority, where you believe the authorities and don't actually do experiments.
I agree with that.
And real science is based on, doing the experiment,
reproducing it. Reproducibility.
Reproduce, yeah. So I make this as simple as possible so people can reproduce it. That's why it's simple. That doesn't mean that it has to be kept that simple. It doesn't mean that what I would produce on a larger scale, if I have an industrial group of people working to make the batteries together, make the circuits together, connect them up. Because for me to do all that by myself, to make lots of them, this takes me, some time to build. It might even only be half an hour to build a circuit, but, that's a lot of time for if I have to build each one of them myself,
Why not, all I'm asking is why not step it up to a proof of concept that actually shows more of the perpetual motion?
Because I don't give a shit about that. Because I don't care about that.
Seems,
but you can do that.
Seems ridiculous to say that that's not what you care about.
But it's not. Because you can pull energy from a general source. I don't need to have a closed system. We live in an open world. We have the sun shining on us.
Okay, fantastic.
Why would I forget
build it with that?
Right. So why wouldn't I use a solar panel or something else to power it? So I can.
That's great too.
But that's not as portable as just bringing a little 1.5 volt battery. So I just brought a 1.5 volt battery to show it that this works. And this is a 1.5 volt battery because it's a standard watch battery. So I don't need to demonstrate this by plugging it into a solar panel. It doesn't really make the demonstration any more effective unless that's where you're fixated. It's basically the circuit that you can use any input from any source, which could be another battery, which could be solar, which could be geothermal, which could be just earth electric, lots of things. But the simulations, this one here is
this is really good.
Half a volt.
No,
I'm going to run this in a second.
I'm hoarding all of your applesauce.
And it's going to provide as an
a
input,
little bit for my husband.
900 milliwatts.
Oh.
Okay? And it's going to provide as an output 70 watts.
Look at my new follower, the press corpse.
Which is a
is that your new
30
follower?
volt stack.
Yeah. I mean, I gained
which means
17
basically
today.
you have two 12 volt batteries fully charged, because a fully charged 12 volt battery will actually go about 15 volts. Okay? So you've got two of those, bam, bam, in series, and you're charging them. So this battery is not actually providing any current to the circuit. It's providing voltage to the circuit, but not current. The current is all coming from this source here. And I have a switch on it, so I can turn it off. And I'm going to run the circuit with that off. Can you see it? And I'm going to click that on. And you'll see that the
Hey, what you use a Mac discredited.
This is Java, so it'll run on anything. And this is on a website. You can actually look at these circuits. So I'll give you the URLs for them.
Yeah, make sure everybody has a URL.
So right now what this is doing is basically powering up the coil until the voltage rises. And the voltage has to rise to 30 volts to get through that battery. Okay? So when the voltage rises to 30 volts, then bam. Now we've got 70 watts going to that battery. You can look at it on the simulation. And at the same time, you've got 3 watts going to a 2K resistor over here. So this could be some other lighting over here. And you've got another 80 volts going out here in a single line. So this is useful for running single wire service, which I can't simulate. But the basic thing that's more conventionally understandable is that I'm taking 0.9 watts, right? 900 milliwatts to provide 70 watts here. That's the basic. That's the basic thing. Now I'm not providing 20 watts, 70 continuous. You see?
Right. It seems like you're probably doing 1% duty cycle or something, which would make sense.
Well,
it's factor of 100.
It's less than 1% because you have to multiply the thing. But it's a compressed impulse, and that compressed impulse has a lot more watts than the original input. Okay?
That's just what.
And so those impulses then stimulate this battery to have an electrolytic reaction. And that's where the only free quote-unquote energy comes into the circuit, because this battery
So the electrolytic reaction, does it wear away the components of the battery?
No. The electrolytic reaction is actually how all batteries are charged. They're always electrolytically charged when you charge a battery. But usually what they do is provide a continuous DC waveform, where rather than providing impulses and letting the battery draw heat, you're actually continuing to shove energy at it. And it's just like trying to turn a wheel by keeping on pushing the wheel versus just spin the wheel. That's free energy if you just push it and let run. And these kinds of coils reduce resistance. So what I've got here are actually 3 very small bipolar pancake coils that are one of the loops is self-feed. This is what I was talking about before. To create that reverse inductance.
I'll bring it.
No, come with you. No, you come here.
The simulation proves the circuit. Basically, what I'm trying to say.
Looking at his face.
And the demonstration proves the practical reality of it.
I want you to take over the stream for a little bit.
Where's my little thingy? Let's get it out.
This is Patty's stream.
No. I have a.
Sit down, and I can show you
Plug it in again?
how to build these.
Where's my little thingy though? The gorilla pod.
All right, I'm on the live stream.
Right there.
No, that's not what I'm looking for.
Where's the
It is
gorilla
power
pod
now.
though, Clark?
What's that?
What's the guy's name again?
Where's the gorilla pod?
It's in that little blue bag inside of the canvas bag.
Plug it in.
Oh, well, no, we're not running short on power.
No, we are.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Well, I just got here. Sorry, folks that are watching. I'm just jumping in here.
What blue bag?
Yeah, well, many thanks for.
Cool, thanks for demoing, man.
There we go.
I don't mean to be too hard on you. I just,
No, see, I appreciate.
I want to be excited, but
I
I think my best role is as a skeptic. And
Your best role is to
Yeah.
build it, and to test it, and to verify for yourself.
that's true.
And
An
that's-
optimistic skeptic.
And that's.
But here's the real
actually-
star of the
that's
show
what I
right here.
want People to do. I
She's
don't
the
want
real
people
star.
to just take what I say on any kind of faith.
She
because
loves
that's
being
not
on camera.
scientific,
Right.
Don't you?
Okay. What I want is to make very simple, reproducible experiments that people will reproduce.
I'm not the study of
So that's
Shannon
why I kept it
Universe for
as
people who
simple
are
as
watching.
I could, because I want this to be easy. for
Did you
people
find
to
the
reproduce.
the
Yeah, but
holder?
my last suggestion though is to pick through the use cases that other people
I think
I think are practical.
You're gonna be
or the
pooping
ones that you
tomorrow.
think are decouple
I
them.
said you're gonna be
The
pooping
idea that you
tomorrow.
have you're powering a bunch of different
Yeah, I
devices
know.
off one thing is
I had
already
poop
suspicious
poisoning
because it
last
complicates the thing. I think we should, your examples, should mostly talk about powering one kind of thing. Sure, it could be a device that accepts pulse width modulations, or it could be something that needs continuous power.
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked.
filtering,
Right.
all the,
Black, not blue.
Right. Those are all very important things for people to do.
Okay, somebody was asking about.
For themselves. But they're
Apparently-
not where I want to focus myself. I'm focused on the basic research right now, but if people will build these for themselves and apply them for themselves, you will very quickly see how practically you can use it.
Yeah, don't depend on the power companies for your energy, folks. I think that we're all too dependent. We're all too comfortable with the idea. No, it's in the blue bag. In the canvas one. We're all too dependent upon the power companies, right, to generate our electricity for us. We're all looking to, there's a canvas bag that I carry around that says, "Do not search this bag without my consent." Okay, by the Law Collective. It's right over here, dude. Right over here. Right underneath my coat somewhere. Anyway, we're all too dependent. No. To your left. Right over here.
I see your coat.
Okay. Anyway, we're all too dependent. We think we can just flick a light switch on and there's no consequences, right? Like, I'm not speaking about us individually in this room, right? But, when I come home and it's dark in my place, and trust me, it gets very dark where I live, right? I need to switch on the lights just to be able to see the function, right? And, we're all a little too comfortable with the fact that we can just switch on a light when people in Gaza basically only have 4 to 6 hours of electricity every day, right? And that's all they get, right? 4 to 6 hours out of a 24-hour day. So imagine having to walk home at 11 o'clock at night and not having any power when you walk into your house, right? How do you function in that kind of environment, right? And, it's like one of the biggest things about being a human being was when the light bulb was invented and then people were able to have lights on at night, and that totally changed the way we live, right? And so it's in that blue bag, dude.
Dude,
Okay, well, yes, it is.
This is the circuit I really like.
Oh, you want to hold the camera for a while, Patty?
Let's just come back.
Because I want to make sure we have something easier to hold the camera with, right? And that way we can have a nicer picture.
That's my battery over here.
my gorilla pod's not in there either, buddy.
Can you hand me my battery?
This one?
Yeah.
There you go. We're so grateful to Patty to providing us a live stream right at the moment. Now, I'm like,
Apparently, it can generate electricity from cold to with the same equipment.
yeah, I saw that.
No idea how it works.
Okay,
Somebody
you are
said
right.
you can generate electricity from cold too with the same equipment.
See if,
Well, you can use a thermocouple to create
Yeah, you have to get used to that.
electricity.
Man.
If you have
Most
like
people insult each other.
one piece of metal which is bounded to another piece of metal of different kind,
It's not a lot.
and you apply heat to the joint,
He's
it's
my
different,
familiar.
and you have quite cold at another point. You can, from that temperature differential, you can actually create voltage too. So there are lots of ways to get voltage, but usually these technologies to get voltage provide very low potential. They provide very small.
No,
small
obviously
voltages.
it was. I walked in with it. We were using it.
And the value of these kinds of circuits is that you can take those small voltages and turn them into very practical wattages. Very practical voltages and wattages.
Okay, could you hand me the black bag?
This one?
Yeah, it's super heavy, so don't get a hernia.
I don't think I'll get a hernia.
Alright, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I'll get a hernia. I'm just looking for the little thing.
I'm eating apples that Punk Boy's husband made.
Oh yeah, it's homemade.
So you guys, if you're just tuning in and you're wondering what the hell is going on, we're here live in San Francisco. We are at Punk Boy's house. So this is Freeman Sullivan, Clark Sullivan, Vlad from Global Rev is here, and me, PM Beers. Hey now.
Right, Ian Saxon.
And then there's
Michael Goldman.
Michael and Ian and Human over here. Human, tell us your tell us your stream again.
At Being Eco. You know, it's easy to find me on the web. Everything I do under the same handle. BEINGECO. Being.
It's good to brand yourself like that.
BULLSHIT.
Oh, go fuck yourself, this guy.
So yeah, PM.
Super simple. Being Eco. The concept is, when you exist, you should consider the ecological dynamics of the world in which you live. Therefore,
For sure.
at all times, one should be eco-conscious, as in being eco. It's also my last
Oh my
name.
god, I've been streaming for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, wasn't that
Guys,
great?
I'm gonna archive and come right back, okay? Give me 30 seconds.
Thank you.